Welcome to In the Know. My name is Ron Mariano. I'm the state rep from Quincy, Weymouth, and Holbrook. I'm joined here today by my colleagues in government, Representative Bruce Ayers and Representative Taki Chan. We're all based out of Quincy, but we're going to speak about a program which we think is really an exceptional opportunity for all the taxpayers in all our districts, in all the cities and towns in the Commonwealth. And we were just talking before we sat down and got mic'd up. I think this is somewhere over 10 years that we've been doing this program. And we do it because we all believe in it. We all take time from our schedule to make sure that we do this as a public service, because the program itself is one that puts money into the pocket of taxpayers. It's an extremely rare Massachusetts tax program that puts money in your pocket if you qualify. And we will go over the qualifications, and we have Brian Lynch, direct from the Department of Revenue, on a Lend-Lease program. We have him hostage here to make sure that all the Quincy people and the South Shore people get money. And he's been very, very helpful in that endeavor. He has brought this program to us, maybe over 10 years ago, and explained it to me. And I think we all decided this was something that we should share with the taxpayers in our district. It is an opportunity because it was created to help keep taxpayers in their homes. You know, facing all the different stresses in the economy at the time when it was created. The water bills were high, and there were a lot of tax issues. And our legislature came up with a plan which we think is significant, and it's open to everybody. Everyone who pays the state tax, whether you pay money or you don't pay money. The best deal is if you don't pay any taxes, you still get money back. And if you can find another deal like that, please let me know, and I'm going to take advantage of it myself. But since I can't, I will now open it up to my colleagues so they can sort of explain to you what they think of the program. So I don't know if who wants to take it.
You kind of summed it up pretty well already.
I know. I've been doing this a long time, Tacky. This is 30 years of doing this. There are some things I know just through osmosis. So why don't we turn it over to Brian?
Okay, sure.
And sort of lay out the groundwork of how you become eligible. So.
Okay. So as the speaker told us, it's a great benefit for seniors. The credit has kind of a funny name, the Senior Circuit Breaker Tax Credit. And when it was developed, the idea was when folks are feeling burdened or a little bit overwhelmed with their real estate tax, that this credit is in place through the Commonwealth of Mass to try to help people out, to offset that, that burden, to try to help them a little bit. The analogy was used, if an electrical outlet is a little bit overwhelmed, the circuit breaker might get tripped or activated to provide some relief for the outlet. I wish we could just call it the Senior Real Estate Tax Credit. People might have a better idea of what we're talking about. Someone called me.
We don't make it too easy.
We don't. A woman called me and said, "My husband's an electrician. Is there a tax credit for us available?" And I said, "No, it's not quite really how it works." And then we talked about it. But really, the first criteria to be eligible is you have to be 65 or older in the tax year. And you can turn 65 on December 31st. And if that's the case, you're considered, for tax purposes, that you're 65 for the whole year. If you're married filing jointly, as long as one spouse is 65 during the tax year, then you're still in the running, still with us. The nice thing about the credit for 2021 is the maximum credit is up to $1170, so $1,170, which is pretty generous, and not that everyone's going to qualify for the max, because it's really kind of a combination. You have to look at your income and compare that to what you're paying in real estate tax or rent. And we'll talk about renters can be eligible, qualify as well. So income, we're talking, when we talk about income, we're really talking gross total income. Sometimes there's confusion because the state doesn't tax Social Security benefits. The state also doesn't tax a public pension for the retired school teacher, police officer, firefighter, city hall, someone like that. Those contributory pensions for public retirees are not taxed by the state. However, when we're trying to determine if people have the funds to pay their real estate tax, we're going to ask them to include in the calculation all of their income, so it's really gross income. And we would look at 10% of their total income is what we want. It's part of the, now we're moving into the math of kind of how it works, the calculation. We're going to compare 10% of someone's total income to what they paid in real estate tax together with half of their water and sewer bill. By adding half of the water and sewer bill, we're trying to try to help them out to increase the credit a little bit. So this credit is really going to kick in or help someone out if their real estate tax together with half their water and sewer becomes greater than 10% of their income. And again, that's the theory, is that once your real estate tax becomes a burden, this credit is in place to help you out. So generally speaking, people 65 or older are for the most part maybe on a fixed income. However, we all realize that our real estate tax seems to increase every year, and so does our water bill. So that's why the credit's in place. Just some quick numbers. If you're single and if you file on your own as a single taxpayer, your total income has to be under $62,000 for the year. And if you're married filing jointly with your spouse, that total income has got to be under $93,000. Some folks file as head of household, and the head of household income threshold or limit is $78,000 for 2021. So if your income's under that, you're still in the running. The other thing we need to think about too is the assessed value of your principal residence in Mass has got to be under $884,000, which sounds pretty significant, right? Pretty generous. But you know, as we all know, the real estate tax prices have just gone, sky high. So there's always a little increase every year. The income amounts go up for a little cost of living increase. The assessed value always increases, and that's about that's basic. But that's the basics about who's eligible to get that.
Well, the interesting thing is that assessed values of homes are going up to the point where we're looking at action on inheritance tax on real estate because of the rise in prices. Where right now we think it's very low. So we're thinking of raising it from $1 million to $2 million. And I think the governor has a proposal, and we will have a proposal in a tax package around our budget. So, people have to be aware of the fact that property values are a reflection of the marketplace, and in some places it goes up a little bit faster than others. So it's best to check your current valuation and make sure you have the right one, so you don't get kicked out in your application.
And the assessed value would be on your real estate tax bill, or you could call City Hall and talk to the assessor if you have a question about that.
Yeah, but it is something I think you have to be aware of. So if you're using an assessed value from a couple of years ago, you may find yourself with some wrong numbers. So we just throw that out as a caveat to anyone who's thinking of filing this year.
It was also good to call out the assessor anyway, because you can do a 3-year look back when applying for this. So if you missed out last year in 2020 or 2019, you can actually go back and amend your taxes to take advantage of this tax credit.
Right.
So reaching out to your assessor for those tax numbers are pretty important.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people that they just learn about the credit maybe by watching the show today, or either talk to a friend, or they're working on their tax return at this time of year and they realize that it's an option, and they say, wow, how long has this been in place? And I say 20 years. But the state is very generous with this, but to a point. So it's only the prior 3 years, as you mentioned, in addition to the current year. And so that's true of like the IRS. Federal is the same way too. If you overlook something, if you want to claim a credit or you didn't get your refund, you have a 3-year look back that you can take care of that.
It is an amazing option that as a state elected official, we give you the opportunity to go back in and dig out more money out of our pockets from our tax revenues. But I think it truly really reflects the importance of this as a way to keep senior citizens in their home. And it's something that we took extremely serious when it was discussed. And it was a program that I think has gone way beyond where we expected it to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know just in 2020, we had 1,862 people in Quincy take advantage of this. And they got an average return of over $1,000, about $1,015,
Mm-hmm.
which you think about it is a really nice little present around tax time when you're going to get a check from over $1,000 for filling out some paperwork. It's pretty amazing. So that's why we're here, folks, to make sure you're aware of this program, and that if you are eligible, please take the time.
You know, Ron made some good points. You know, I'm hearing, I know we're all hearing the same concerns. The last couple of years have been tough for our seniors. They're all struggling. They want to stay at home. They want to stay in their apartment. You know, they're on a fixed income. Prescription drugs and other costs, utility costs are rising. So this is something that can be a game changer to some of those expenses. And in Randolph, there was, the last time around, there was 619 people that took advantage of the program, and the average cost they got back was $950.
Right.
You know, so it's for people who might not know about it. You know, it's a program that has a big impact. You know, and there's help out there. There's help out there for people who might need assistance with their taxes. I know Tacky's going to talk a little bit about it, but there's always someone you can turn to. And these are great state programs that have a way of helping the seniors out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to offset. Everyone's realizing that the increase in real estate tax, and that's the whole purpose of this credit, is to offset that increase. And some people really benefit pretty well by it.
Well, so far, I think in Quincy, about 1.9 million people, $1.9 million has been returned to taxpayers in the city of Quincy. Something like 97 million
Statewide. Yeah.
That
was just for 2020.
For 2020.
Yeah.
I think the numbers are just absolutely amazing, and it does. It is good for those of us who take the votes on these programs to see the results and watch the results come in over time. But I've been around a little longer than these guys, and this is truly one of the most successful programs I think I've ever voted for. It just works.
Yeah, and everybody's eligible. Somebody's eligible every year, right? Because you know, instead the birthday comes up.
Right.
Right.
And related
Good
to
point.
that, I think the population's getting a little older, you know, with all the boomers coming of age, you know, so there's a larger population of people that are hitting 65 every tax year, which seems to grow a little bit. And we should talk about how we talked about how great it is. Let's say, how do you get it? How can you make it happen? So if people are working on their state tax return at this time of year, they can find within the tax booklet there is a schedule, Schedule CB for circuit breaker, and that's going to walk you through the calculation. That's where you're going to do the math with your 10% of your income compared to your real estate tax and half your water bill. So that this will help. If you need a tax booklet, you can find them at the local library. That's where I got mine. Interesting. Commonwealth of Mass processed 3 million tax returns last year, and only 10% of them are by paper. So 90% of all the tax returns that we receive are done electronically through software or on the computer. So every year the paper returns decrease a little bit, and the electronic ones increase. So it'll be interesting to see with the numbers for 2021 what the relation, what the ratio would be for 2021.
2021 will be an interesting year. There were a lot of people out of work, a lot of hours that were reduced, revenues were diminished coming into the household.
Right.
So we don't know whether that will create a bigger demand on this fund or not. But
Just related to that as an aside, the Commonwealth is exempting the first $10,200 of unemployment income, which is pretty nice benefit for people. So
that'll.
it was in place for 2020, and again, it's with us for 2021. So
That's good news. That is good news. So.
yeah, it helps.
Well, it'll be interesting to see when the returns come in. I'm kind of amazed at those numbers of electronic filings. It seems that we are truly becoming a paperless economy.
Definitely. If you go to a tax professional to do your return, they should be very familiar with this. This should be no surprise to anyone like that. Sometimes if people are just turning 65, it hasn't been an issue for them in the past. So, this year might be the year that they learn about it. And just also keep in mind that the prior 3 years are still open, so 18, 19, and 20. If you were 65 in that tax year and the numbers work for you, then you're still eligible. The nice thing about this credit, it's refundable credit. And what I mean by that is anytime that you're eligible for a tax credit, you always take whatever tax credit you might be eligible for, apply it to your tax liability, hopefully to bring your tax liability to zero, which would be great. That's the goal, right? So that's true both federal or state. Most credits, if you are able to wipe out your tax liability, that's usually as far as they go. That's as good as it gets. The circuit breaker goes a step further in that if you're able to wipe out your tax liability and you still have a remaining credit, you're going to get that amount refunded. We'll put it in your bank account if you give us your banking information, or we'll send you a check. And as the speaker mentioned earlier, that it's just so great for people, and I've talked to people that not only do they apply for the current year, but the prior 3 years as well, and they're pretty happy about it. And we always ask people, like, if you're learning about it, to share with your family, friends, and neighbors. Maybe you can help someone else out.
As you pointed out, you get a cash, credits equal cash. So even if you have zero tax liability,
Right.
you can still fill in your tax forms with the CB.
Right.
So people shouldn't feel intimidated by the fact that if I don't pay taxes, I don't qualify.
I agree. Excellent point, and that's
Yeah,
what the speaker mentioned.
that's a great point, because that's one of the real benefits of this.
Yeah.
Is when you can walk away and say, Massachusetts, I don't owe you any money, but you owe me $1,000. I think we'd all like to be in that position.
Yeah.
And think about this, it's amazing. If you're 65, say you're 70, and you were unaware of this, and you have the opportunity to file for 3 years in a row, that could be as much as $3,000 in your pocket, tax-free. It's truly.
Pretty good.
I've listened to a lot of tax proposals over the time I've been in office, and no one matches this. There isn't a one of them that comes close to this. So,
As the representative said, sometimes it's a little confusing because we don't tax, the Commonwealth of Mass doesn't tax Social Security or the public pension like we talked earlier. So sometimes people say, oh, it's not for me because I don't have any need to file a return.
yeah.
But don't discount yourself, because if you're eligible, you're still able to get the money refunded.
I think the point that's lost on some folks is this is truly about impacting your real estate tax in your cost to stay in your home per year. And that's what this credit was aimed at. It's very successful. It's what it does. It allows you to chip away at what you owe.
I want to mention that renters can qualify as well. So the income measure is the same, 10% of total income, and we're going to compare that to 25% of the rent that someone pays. So if 25, and the rents have gotten incredibly expensive too, right? So if 25% of someone's rent is greater than 10% of their income, then credits in place for them.
Yeah, we know that filling out taxes can be intimidating, right? Because some folks probably haven't filled out for a little while because they didn't reach, qualification for this, but they had a very low tax burden. So we just want to remind folks there are resources out there for people 65 and over. The AARP actually provides programs for people over 50 and over. It is all by appointment, meaning you can't just walk in. Obviously, given the current circumstances, it's very preferable you call in advance about what the process is to enter a building. QCAP has the volunteer income tax program again this year. When the numbers are actually showing the screen, which is kind of nice, I don't have to repeat them. But obviously the Kennedy Center up in North Quincy, Weymouth Senior Center, as well as the Holbrook Town Hall, and I believe also the Weymouth, Randolph Senior Center also has a program as well. So the numbers are scrolling on the bottom, which makes our lives easier, so I don't have to read them to you.
And to Tacky's point, I had a senior call me, and her husband had recently passed away, but he was the one who always did the books, always handled the financing, and she left it right to him. And now, of course, she was looking for some assistance, and when she called down to some of these senior centers, there's always a resource, whether it was something like QCAP or AARP. There's people out there that can help you. It's free. They volunteer their time. It can be stressful, and this can take that stress out of it for you.
Right.
And they might find that they're eligible.
Yeah, if you need a book like this, any three of us would be happy to get our hands on one and put it in the mail for you.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of people still like to go old school. I find that when I'm talking to seniors. The number was 10%. I was surprised. I thought it would be higher, but seniors sometimes don't like to use the computer. They'd rather be one-on-one with somebody where they can kind of get a better understanding of it. And I know, down at the Quincy Center, Tom Clasby does a great job. And in Randolph, Kerry Sullivan, who does the center down there, we're going to be getting her some information on the program, brochures, so seniors can inquire.
That's great. In the Department of Revenue where I work, there's a lot of resources available too, and the cable TV is nice enough to show you our 800 number and also our website. So if you have questions, this is not your only opportunity to get the information by watching the show today, but you can call us. We'll be happy to help you out and talk to you. Some great information on the website as well, mass.gov/DOR. In the search field, just type in circuit breaker, and there's a pretty extensive information available, and we even have a video that you can watch too to make it easy. So check it out if you haven't yet.
Yeah, well, DOR is in a hurry to give away our tax revenue, boys. We will have to revisit the commissioner. No, it is a good program. I look at what it's done for my district, and I think Holbrook had over 330,000 last year, and Weymouth had over 900,000. You combine that with Quincy's 1 point,
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Third Norfolk District did all right on this program. So, and I'm sure their numbers correspond to their districts, although Tacky doesn't get out of Quincy, so
I never leave Quincy.
we
know that.
like to keep him here. He's Quincy's
Smart.
secret, so we don't let him out. Bruce and I go out into beyond the borders.
Right.
But anyway,
You make it sound like I'm a shut-in.
just having a little fun with you, Tack. You should be used to that by now. Anyway, it is a great program, and I want to thank Brian especially for taking time and scheduling this for us. He's been a great asset to us, and a great asset to the taxpayers in our districts, because we wouldn't be able to present this program as succinctly and as intelligently as you do. And getting us the numbers is extremely important. It really does show the relevance of this program to the taxpayers.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to talk about a good, beneficial program.
Yeah, it is.
Most taxes, people, when I tell them where I work, they go the other way. They don't want to get involved with the...
I used to have office hours in Weymouth when I first began, and I didn't realize that almost everyone in Weymouth went to the town hall to pay their real estate taxes. And you realize that most people aren't very happy when they're paying their taxes. And I learned that the hard way by listening to the folks as they come in.
Right.
But this is one program, if I had been aware of it at the time, I think I could have maybe turned one or two people around and made them smile. And
Yep.
but that's the way it goes. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to mention, I don't know if Brian is going to announce a retirement, but I know you're thinking of it. And if this is the last one of these that we do, I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for your service to the Commonwealth.
Oh, thank you.
It is truly, this is what a public servant is about, folks. He's got good news, and he wants to make sure that everyone out there gets it. And I appreciate that as someone who can't always deliver good news to my constituents.
Right.
But on this one, we know we can, and we know we could always count on you to
thank
show up.
Thanks.
And that's important.
Thank you.
So I, for one, really appreciate it. I know these guys do too. And if we knew you were going for sure, we would have had a cake. But we don't want to waste the money on a cake and then find out you're back here next year. We'd have to do it all
Right.
again. So we'll take it a year at a time.
1 year at a time.
Yep, and you can take it a year at a time.
Excellent. Right.
You know, thank you, Brian. I didn't realize that. That's big news. If it goes that way.
I
But
wanted a surprise. I wanted a surprise. everybody.
37 years, you know.
Oh, wow.
Everything.
hey, you've earned your stripes. Well,
Yeah.
you know, for all the people you've helped out, our constituents, our colleagues over the years, I know you've networked with a lot of them, giving them the information that we can pass on to our constituents. So, thank you.
Sure, of course. Happy to do it. Happy to do.
Do we have anything else that we want to say before we begin to wrap this up? Jackie gave out all his phone numbers.
Bring over phone numbers out. I just wish everyone well. It's before St. Patrick's Day, so I wish everyone St. Patrick's Day and hopefully a warmer spring coming.
Yes, spring. Let's hope spring is in the air. Although it is kind of nice out today.
Feels like spring today.
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. But anyway, well, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Tacky, for helping us put this together. We think it's extremely important, and we hope you folks out there get in front of your tax preparer and find out if you're over 65 whether or not you are eligible for this program, because if you are, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at the benefits that you will receive. So we urge you to get out there and talk to someone. So with that,
Excellent. Thank you.
thank you.